The Jazz are 3-0. The Jazz are 3-0. Where do you guys come down on this Jazz team? I mean, in the conversation, I think around the Jazz being 3-0, and the thing that is so fascinating about the Jazz is that most fans, I think, wanted this club to tank. Are you that guy? Do you want the Jazz to tank? Like, where do you come down? I'm thrilled they're 3-0. I got to be honest with you. It's fun to be a Jazz fan. It's fun to watch their games. It's fun to see the diversity on this roster in talent. Whether it's Lauri Markkanen, whether it is Jordan Clarkson. Obviously Kelly Olynyk had a huge layup last night. If you missed it, in overtime, he gets into the paint on what appeared to be a broken play, threw the ball into the hole. They win the game. It's incredible. And you look at the way Olynyk played. I look at Jared Vanderbilt, Vando with, some really important defense. You got a lot of everything from everybody. And Jake, I think that's a big change on this team.
Yeah.
Because it had been Don and everybody else for so long.
Yeah, and I think that, again, like with all these trades and that sort of ongoing conversation about all the new faces in the organization, like I think that whole concept has kind of now evolved into, hey, like all those faces are producing. All those faces are working really hard. All those faces are making plays like Lauri made at that half court at the end of the game there where he saves it and then JC goes and hits a shot. Like, though, that type of play is what's really, great about this team right now. Now, again, let's not jump off the cliff here and say that this team somehow is going to be, some deep playoff team or a championship caliber team. That's not who they are. But I think that, this whole conversation about tanking and should they be tanking and what does tanking look like, I think with the way they're playing right now, you can definitively say they're not tanking. If you were tanking, you'd want to be 0-3 right now. Like, as a strategy, you'd want to make sure that you are losing games and losing them at a high rate. But I'm telling you, think about it logically. It doesn't make sense to burn these guys up the whole season. Ask Will Hardy in a sense. You're never going to tell the guy to intentionally lose games, but in a sense, hey, let's see what we can do here as far as VW is concerned. And so that's why I say what they're doing is not tanking. It never has been. It doesn't make sense to lose all those games and burn those guys up for like a 5% chance in the ping pong balls, of getting the guy, of getting the number 1 overall pick. What makes more sense is, tear the whole thing down, trade everybody, but build a squad of guys that will at least play exciting basketball that your fans and your people want to watch. If you're competitive and you're in these games, that's all Jazz fans need to get behind you. If you're getting blown out by 10 or 15 every night, then obviously Jazz fans are not going to, support that. So that's what I think they're doing, and I think that's been we've been saying that for a while. That's kind of been our take on it.
Yeah, I just don't think this is the roster that you would build if you were tanking. I mean, Kelly Olynyk wouldn't be here. Mike Conley wouldn't be here. And by the way, how nice is it that Mike's found a role on this team?
Yeah. I
mean, you'd love it if you weren't paying him $21 million, but I think you look at the minutes he's playing an important role for this team. But you look at the minutes that you're giving Walker Kessler, they fluctuated, but he's looked good at times. He's looked terrible at times. I look at Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, that's a try-hard guy and becoming a much better three-point shooter. He hit a couple of threes out of the corner last night. That's really encouraging, I think, if you're a Jazz fan, because you can see the development and the growth there. But I guess the question is like, hey, who's the face of this team right now? I don't think there's any doubt it's Jordan Clarkson. I don't know how you would even point to anybody else other than Jordan Clarkson right now as the face of this Utah Jazz team.
Yeah.
I think he's it. And I think he is the guy that you're pushing for All-Star. Now, obviously, Lauri Markkanen's playing really well, and he's a guy that could be an All-Star as well. But I think when you get down to brass tacks at the end of the day, it's Jordan Clarkson. He's your best player. He's your All-Star candidate in my mind.
Yeah, and I think he's a great candidate on this team. I mean, again, he's a younger-ish guy, like vibe-wise. Like, he's still really energetic and still very much about the game and like bringing everything he's got every single night, And I know he's not a young guy per se by league standards, but what I mean is, when you have that kind of energy, when you have the want to left still, like when you have that, you're able to be the face of a franchise for a season or two on what most people think is ultimately going to be a losing team. Again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are a lot of times last night where I would have loved to see Jordan kick it to the corner or maybe not drive into that double team or do some things differently. But that said, I love the 3-point make at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
I love the up and down game, the block on Zion. That's what I'm saying. That's why JC can be the face of your franchise, because he's been here and done that, and Jazz fans know him. We were getting comments earlier in the show about Lauri Markkanen. I don't disagree that Lauri Markkanen, generally speaking, in the big picture, can be a face of a franchise. He can be that guy, just not for this team, because he's not relatable yet. He's not that guy yet. You haven't been around long enough yet. That's why I think Jordan gets the edge over him. Lauri's a great guy, 7-footer, plays really good game, love his shooting ability, love the hustle, but I just think Jordan is the better fit right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And just looking at the way that this early season has played out, I don't think there's any doubt that Jazz are the shock of the NBA. The Jazz and Portland are both 3-0.
Yeah.
Is stunning. That you look at the bottom, Houston, OKC, the Kings, and the Lakers are all 0-3. I think we expected more out of Sacramento, there's no doubt. But you start looking at this Western Conference, and you're starting to see that, maybe it's not as cut and dry. Maybe it's not as black and white as we all thought it was. I mean, it's really surprising. I'm surprised that Zion's hurt already. It is. If you
that was
missed
a pretty gnarly play.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, he fell and hurt his tuchus last night.
His butt cheeks.
His butt cheeks are bruised. He's got a rear ass contusion.
Yeah.
Fat. You saw in the Clarkson play where he fell on his back, and he has got a posterior hip contusion.
Posterior, anterior,
which means
stuff.
His hip bone is bruised.
Hey, Claw.
But you lose him and Ingram in the same game, and the Pelicans become the Pelicans again. You look at Dame putting up 40-point night after 40-point night. You look at Phoenix, the Clippers. I mean, you're starting to see some of these trends emerge. Can the Jazz play 40-win basketball this year? I don't know. Can they be a playoff team? I mean, certainly now, aren't we all, I don't know, fantasizing is probably too strong of a word, but aren't we all hoping and praying that they can play 40-win basketball and be a playoff team? I mean, I would think so.
Because remember what last year was for the play-in. Last year for the play-in was 30s, low 30s.
Yeah.
So to me, I do think you can get to the play-in. I think
you do.
Yeah, I think that it would take I think it would take Mike Conley staying healthy, because make no mistake about it, Mike Conley is an important figure on this team right now as it's constituted. His ability to just be that traditional point guard and get the offense into the set is extremely valuable, because on a young team, you need them to just run the set. And that's what Conley does for this team. So if he can stay healthy, if they, again, all jokes aside, if they load manage him correctly, keep the miles off his legs early in the year, he stays healthy, JC stays healthy, and Markkanen stays healthy, those three guys on the floor together most of the year, I think makes them a play-in team.
Yep. Mr. E says, I hate this tank mentality. This team enjoys to play with each other. I see no softness like in the past. Almost everyone on a proven year, plus 15 first picks. Yeah. I mean, it's an important moment in time for the Jazz. Let's not underplay that at all. Carlin says, seeing how Olynyk is playing, is the bogey trade still bad?
Yeah.
I just think you didn't get enough for him. I mean, Kelly Olynyk is a nice player. He's a role player. I think the Laker trade, and there's varying degrees of who you believe or not.
Right.
The Lakers wanted Bojan Bogdanović and Malik Beasley, and I think there was a deal there to be done. And Danny simply didn't want to. I really think it comes down to that Danny didn't want to do a deal with the Lakers. I think that's what it is, because that's the only thing that I can fathom. I don't understand, unless you're putting a thumb in the eye of Rob Pelinka and the Lakers. How do you trade Bojan Bogdanović to Detroit for Saban Lee, $1.2 million in cash, which was the value of Saban Lee's contract, and Kelly Olynyk. That's all you got in return. That's it for Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. And I like what Olynyk's brought, but, man, that trade is not great. Kanai Johnson, this team is no one-man team. Everybody eats. I feel like this is the difference from last year. Truth. Absolutely. Kay says the Jazz are playing as a team. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Kendall says there is no quit in this Jazz team. You have to love it. Fans should support them 100%. Go to the games. Absolutely. Again, I've really come around on the uniforms. I like the black. The yellow last night was smoking.
Yeah, that's nice.
I thought it was a toddy. Like, it was really, I'd hit that. I would. That was, I was really surprised by that. I thought those yellows were actually really serviceable. The white one, you're never going to get me on. I think that white jersey is a practice jersey. It looks like an AAU shirt. Like, I just am not. That's not my flavor at all. The black, I like the black, and the yellow could grow on me. I could see coming around on that yellow.
Yeah.
Jeremy Severe says Clarkson's block on Zion was just disrespectful.
Yep. And again, why is he there? Because he worked his ass off to get back.
He's got to pass the ball, though.
He does. Well, and again, I think he does sometimes, but I think, as part of this new team process, he's got to find his role. Like last night at the end of regulation with that game winner, way too passive. I felt like you just settled for the three.
Falling out of bounds on the sideline.
I know for a fact Jordan Clarkson can do better than that. And you didn't need a three to win the game. You could have easily gone right to your floater game, which he is notorious for having a great floater game. Like, you had a lot of different options. And I think that's something that Jordan's going to have to work on because, again, he's never been asked to be the closer. He's never been asked to be the killer.
He let New Orleans off the hook. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think. Let's see. James Knight says, is the notion of tanking a really bad look for sport? It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, and they're talking about relegation in the NBA to alleviate tanking.
Yeah, I think when you look at what it does to fans, I think that's where it becomes a problem. Because I'm paying to see Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, LeBron James.
Yeah, the best.
Kawhi Leonard. When you load manage those guys, or if you take the OKC route, what reason do OKC fans have to buy tickets right now?
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot. They're terrible. They're terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
But if you're the Clippers, what's worse is if you're the Clippers and you're going into Boston one time this year and you don't play Kawhi Leonard, what does that say to Boston fans? Like, that's selling them short. Like, it's a very slippery slope, James. Yeah, for sure, it's a very slippery slope, no doubt. And my Monty fan, you have to love this team's heart. The ball actually moves. They play for each other. Coaches to win. Scrappy and all those nasty yellows. I love the nasty yellows. Kanai Johnson says 3 straight nights of overtime. How tired do you think they will be? Well,
they'll be tired. I mean, and that's kind of my point. Like, at some point, you have to start putting these teams away, and that's kind of going to be the next evolution of the team. Like, I think, again, remember, yes, they're 3-0, but also that means you're just 3 games in. Like, you've won these games on heart and tenacity and grind. But at some point, the energy level is not going to be where it's at right now. I mean, 25 games in, if you've played a bunch of overtime games, that's going to take its toll. So to me, it's like, all right, we got to figure out how to play better. Because last night didn't need to happen. Like, you had this game in control.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you let them back into the game, and there's no reason for it. And that, to me, is where this team has to get better. You're not playing defense right now. And so once they start playing defense, they will beat a lot of teams.
Man, they're 3-0. Portland's 3-0. Minnesota 2-1. Denver 2-1. Who did both those teams lose to? The Jazz.
Yeah.
And OKC's 0-3. I mean, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. And that yeah. They have Houston tonight. Are you surprised? Look at this line on the Houston game. How surprised by this are you? Because I'm fairly surprised that the Jazz are a 1-point underdog. The number's 232.
Yeah.
232.
Yeah. I mean, I think the number is spot on. I think Vegas.
You do?
I think Vegas has this exactly right. I think that the Rockets don't play defense. The Jazz definitely don't play defense, and they're both get up and down type teams.
I don't agree with that. I think the Jazz actually do play defense.
I think, yeah, you can pull up a highlight tape of them blocking guys and working hard to get back, but I'm saying, like, in the half court, being able to stop teams when you need to, that's definitely a weak point right now.
I'm actually pleasantly surprised how advanced Vanderbilt's defense is at this point. Like, I think it's actually one of the more, Markkanen's offense, I think we all knew about that, so that's not surprising to me. I am a little surprised at how smart Jared Vanderbilt is as a defender. Learning not to pick up fouls. Like, obviously there were a couple tic-tac calls there, but
yeah.
I think he is a smart defender. Like, he's the upside guy. Walker Kessler, I think there are going to be games, and I'm trying to pull up
Kessler
real quick what
has
he
been
played last night. He played 22 minutes. 22 minutes, 3 of 6 from the floor, 7 points.
Right.
9 boards.
Right.
I think that's going to be his role. I think Lauri Markkanen is probably your best player as far as consistent professionalism goes. Jordan Clarkson's probably the face of this team.
Yes.
But I really like what you have as a group.